Now, I know not everyone's going to be on board with me this week, but hear me out. What are two things leftists hate around this time of year, or any time of year for that matter? They hate football because their messiah, Colin Kaepernick, is still unemployed, and they hate Thanksgiving because, well, everything historic and traditional about America is apparently bad. So what I've decided to do is give all of you, hopefully to the chagrin of leftists, my top 5 NFL Thanksgiving Day games. Hey everybody, welcome back to this very special Thanksgiving edition of Out of Left Field. For MRC-TV, I'm Nick Kangadis. Alright, so let me give you some parameters I set for this list. One, since they play every Thanksgiving Day, the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys will both have at least one game where they won on this list, as will the Chicago Bears because they've played the most Turducken Day games besides those two teams. Plus, they're my favorite team and it's my list, so there's that. 2, at least one of the games will involve Hall of Fame running back from the Lions, Barry Sanders. You might ask why? Well, because he's Barry freaking Sanders, that's why. 3, all games included will be from the last 40 years. And finally, I just like close games. Individual performances are great and they should be noted, but I need a close game to go along with it to consider it all-time great. Oh, by the way, we're using screenshots of parts of each game instead of video highlights because, well, the NFL stands for the No Fun League, so pardon us if the pictures aren't the greatest. Also, as an aside, my Chicago buddies and I used to play football every Thanksgiving morning, so my wearing of this ratty old Bears jersey is in tribute to them. We never wore pads or helmets, but we turned out all right, didn't we, guys?
What? Oh, yeah. Hey.
Now, I wasn't going to do honorable mentions, but just so I can appease the video editor, I have 2 words for you: butt fumble.
The butt fumble.
All right, let's get to the list. Coming in at number 5 is the 1993 game between the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions at the old Silverdome. If you like defense, this game was for you. The Bears and the Lions combined for 3 interceptions and 9 sacks. 2 holdovers from the Bears' vaunted 1985 championship defense. Richard Dent and Steve Mongo McMichael each had a sack. The Lions' Dan Owens had both a sack and an interception. Barry Sanders didn't have the greatest game, but it won't be the last time we see Sanders on this list. The Bears came out on top in this one, 10-6. At number 4, we only need to go back a few years to 2016 for the matchup that saw the Dallas Cowboys beat the Washington Redskins in a rivalry game for the ages. It was the first Thanksgiving Day game for rookies Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, and they didn't disappoint. The at-the-time 21-year-old Zeke posted 120 all-purpose yards to go along with 2 rushing scores, while Prescott threw for 195 yards, ran for 39 more, and had 2 total touchdowns himself. Now, not to be outdone, even though it was in a losing effort, then Redskins quarterback Kirk Cousins threw for a mind-boggling 449 yards and 3 touchdowns. While there wasn't much defense played in this game, these offenses provided more than enough excitement to wake up anybody from their turkey coma.
Save the neck for me, Clark.
Before I continue, if you happen to have a game that you remember or want to share your own list, don't be shy and let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about some of your favorite Thanksgiving football moments. Back to the list. Number 3 gives us the 1979 Texas Classic between the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Oilers. There were 3 things particularly memorable about this game, which the Oilers won 30-24. Oilers running back Earl Campbell, who might as well have been a human bulldozer in his prime, rushed for nearly 200 yards and scored 2 touchdowns. It's really something to watch highlights of this guy run over and past defenders. Second, it was the last Thanksgiving Day game for Hall of Fame quarterback and Navy veteran Roger Staubach. Staubach didn't have his greatest game, throwing 2 interceptions, but he wasn't all that bad for a 37-year-old quarterback at the time, also throwing for 287 yards and 2 touchdowns. Finally, the game saw 2 all-time legendary coaches who were also both World War II veterans face off. Hall of Famer and Army pilot Tom Landry headed up the Cowboys, and former Marine Raider Bum Phillips was at the helm for the Oilers. Quite a lot of history for a game very few people still talk about. Number 2. In 1994, Thanksgiving had its share of fireworks when the Dallas Cowboys faced off against the Green Bay Packers in a shootout. The Cowboys scored 36 second-half points to overcome the Packers 42-31. In his final Thanksgiving Day game, Green Bay wide receiver Sterling Sharp scored all 4 touchdowns for his team, catching 9 balls in total for 122 yards. The Cowboys had a slightly more balanced attack that saw now coach Jason Garrett throw for over 300 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception as he filled in for Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman. Fellow Hall of Famer running back Emmitt Smith ran for 133 yards and got in the end zone twice. And of course, you can't talk about Thanksgiving Day games without mentioning John Madden's favorite player,
Brett Favre.
Favre only threw for 257 yards, but connected with Sharp for those 4 TDs I mentioned earlier. But we have to go to the #1 game on this list for an even more impressive offensive game of back and forth. There were 3 lead changes in the 1995 Turkey Day matchup between the visiting Minnesota Vikings and the host Detroit Lions. Now, I told you Barry Sanders would make another appearance on this list, and this time he put up numbers that we would expect on a weekly basis from the human juke machine. Sanders rushed the ball 24 times for 138 yards and 1 touchdown, but the majority of action came from opposing quarterbacks, the Vikings' Warren Moon and the Lions' Scott Mitchell. The pair combined for 794 yards passing and 7 touchdowns. That also saw 3 Lions receivers break the 100-yard plateau. It was gunslinger versus gunslinger in Pontiac, Michigan that day, but the Lions came out on top 44-38. Now that's it for the list. Again, tell me what you think in the comments below and let me know what your list would look like. Before I go, I just want to wish everyone a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families and try to leave politics at the door, at least for one day. If you like this video, don't forget to share it. That's the best way to let us know that you want MRC-TV to keep these videos coming. Subscribe to our YouTube page and hit that notification bell so that YouTube might actually let you know when MRC-TV comes out with a new video. Like us on Zuckerbook and follow us on Instaburg and the Dorseyverse. For MRC-TV, I'm Nick Kangadis.